Welcome to the Picture This Photography podcast, where we talk about all things photography, including how world events impact the photo industry. And today we're going to be talking about the coronavirus and how that impacts what's going on in our industry right now.
Fuji just launched the X-T4. One of the things they said was, we might not be able to get this to you in a timely way because of manufacturing problems in China. And that is something that could impact all camera manufacturers and all camera buyers.
First, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Squarespace, for making this podcast possible and making it possible to tell stories like these that we care about. You can get your own Squarespace website, domain, portfolio for 14 days for free. There's a link down below. Go to squarespace.com/Chelsea. And if you decide you like it, you can use the coupon code Chelsea. Thank you, Squarespace. This is a really difficult topic to cover. We didn't want to add to the fear of the coronavirus. We certainly don't want to exploit it or be insensitive, but we also think it's something that's very real and impacting our industry. First and foremost, we care about the human lives involved and the health and the safety of everyone that will be impacted by this virus.
The official name is COVID-19. We're going to casually refer to it as coronavirus, kind of like everybody does. The first thing I want to talk about is whether this is an actual pandemic or if we're seeing the media sensationalizing things. That can be hard because the media definitely sensationalizes some things. We're seeing conflicting views even like within the United States government. The Nancy Messonnier at the Center for Disease Control said this:
"It's not a question of if this will happen, but when it will happen and how many people in this country will have severe illness."
She's saying, yes, the coronavirus is coming to the U.S. That's certainly scary. On the other hand,
Donald Trump, our president, has said we have it under control. It's going to be just fine. We're very close to a vaccine.
Is it under control? I don't know. I can't predict the future, and I cannot tell what's going to happen. Neither one of us can. We can talk about what the different possibilities are and what the impact's going to be, and hopefully we can do it without sensationalizing it further. One thing we know for sure is that the fear is real. It's currently impacting the stock market and businesses. The U.S. over the last couple of days has seen one of the biggest drops in the history of the stock market. The stock market mostly cares about businesses and money, but they think that the spread of it will cause businesses to slow down or shut down, and that will lose people money, and hence the drop. So we want to answer some questions like, will cameras and lenses continue to be manufactured? And if so, like what kind of delay are we going to see? Will people stop traveling, and how much is that going to impact camera sales? And is this going to be enough to push weaker camera companies over the edge? Will you be able to get your new camera gear? This comes up because China is the manufacturing hub of the entire world. Almost everything you buy has some part in it from China, even if the final assembly isn't done in China. As coronavirus has spread from Wuhan to other parts of China, they've shut down a lot of transportation, a lot of roads, a lot of businesses were shut down, and that means less stuff has been getting done. We saw an announcement from Hiroki Totoki of Sony saying, depending on the future progress of the virus, we can't deny that Sony's production and sales supply chain for the image sensor and electronics business could be affected enormously. And this is The Verge commenting on the newest Fujifilm X-T4 launch. Fujifilm expects to take a significant hit from production delays and constrained supply tied to the coronavirus outbreak. The goal was to have the X-T4 out by sometime in April, but unless you place a very early pre-order, don't be surprised if you run into a lengthy wait. Which camera manufacturers are building stuff in China and which are outside of China? Fujifilm and Panasonic seem to make their cameras in China. Olympus did, but they moved out. And then the other manufacturers seem to build them in Japan or Thailand. But they all have some Chinese components, almost certainly. So much of Chinese manufacturing has been in a standstill, but how long is that going to last? This is a difficult question. On February 9th, after the Chinese New Year, factories were supposed to reopen, but it hasn't really gone that way. Forbes is researching this closely, and they've said that, for example, in southern China, there's a law that every factory must provide each worker 2 masks per day. And until they have that supply of masks, they cannot reopen, and masks are sold out.
Yeah, they're even sold out here on Amazon, and some of the ones that are available have been price hikes, so a box of masks are $80, $50.
It's good news, bad news. Like, they're containing the coronavirus by putting in new procedures that will allow people to get back to work, but the supplies aren't there yet. On the other hand, once they make some more masks, people should be able to get back to work.
I think it's also hopeful because this is a sign that they are putting health and safety first. And the worst case scenario would be that they only cared about profits, they tried to make everyone work, and more people got sick. But they're being responsible, and they'll delay things until they can make sure all of their employees are healthy.
Forbes also said that in one sampling of companies in a particular district, out of 50 companies, only 5 were currently operating. That's from February 20th, and only about 15% of the workforce has returned. I don't know when they're going to be back to full force. I would guess they wouldn't be back at full production levels like this year. But I think we will see things steadily increase through the summer. Hopefully the warmer weather will help contain the virus a little bit more. China has been moving quickly. Like, they built that huge hospital in a span of 6 days. I'm confident that they will continue to work hard to get everybody the health supplies that they need, because China must go back to work. China's entire economy has been disrupted.
When I was researching this podcast, I was reading about how other industries were impacted as well, like the food service industry. Restaurants are shut down in Wuhan, and one restaurant had been shut down since before the Chinese New Year, and the owner was talking about what he was doing to deal with that, and he used that opportunity to start working on building other parts of the business. The food delivery service, his website.
What we'll see from camera manufacturers because of the coronavirus is that launches will be delayed, but especially shipping of new products are going to be delayed. If you want to buy that new camera, you better get your pre-order in early so you can be one of the first in line, because if you wait until it's supposed to launch, you're not going to be able to get it. And it's easier to cancel a pre-order than it is to scramble and find something when supplies are extremely limited. I would also suggest buying used gear when you can, and just being content with what you have, maybe through 2020. How will this impact the fiscal health of the companies? I don't think it's going to be that bad. 4 camera companies separate out the camera division from the rest of their financial information. Of those, Canon and Fuji were still reporting profits for the fiscal year ending 2019. Those profits will probably decrease more steeply than they expect because of the limited supplies coming from Chinese manufacturing. Nikon and Olympus are already unprofitable, and this is going to be bad news for them. But investors are understanding. The companies will say, we experienced unusual losses this year because of the coronavirus, and in business, people understand that. In fact, companies often use an exceptional event like this as a way to pack all their losses into a single quarter or a single year. And that way, they can take those losses without it reflecting on their long-term performance.
This isn't the time of the year that has the most sales. It's not the fourth quarter. It's not the end of the year when the holiday sales are in. There's still time for things to recoup and rebound in 2020.
Yeah, and if you can't buy a camera today, you'll probably buy that camera later when you can. There's this pent-up demand. So when they can manufacture, those sales will come back. And instead of seeing sales disappear, we might just see sales delayed.
Yeah, people can be patient. There's something serious going on.
They can be. So I think 2020 will see big fiscal losses, maybe even unprofitability from big companies like Canon, but I think 2021 will be more back to normal.
Coming up, we're going to be talking about travel and how a decrease in travel could impact the photography industry, and also the Olympics. That's a huge event. That's a time that camera manufacturers show off their latest and greatest. They want people to see their cameras on the sidelines. Thanks again to Squarespace for making this podcast possible and for allowing us to tell this story. If you want to try your own Squarespace website or portfolio, you can go to squarespace.com/Chelsea and use the coupon code Chelsea to get 10% off. You can also just use that 14-day free trial to see if you like it before you buy it, and I think you will.
Personal travel, I believe, to be one of the biggest factors driving camera and lens sales. And this is anecdotal, but probably 1 out of 3 gear questions I get are along the lines of, I'm traveling to Venice, which camera and lens should I buy? These are the most important moments in people's lives, and suddenly their smartphone isn't good enough, and it gets them out to buy stuff. We're seeing a severe impact on the travel industry because of the coronavirus.
We can understand people's concerns and why they're canceling their trips or they're waiting before they book their trips. We have an April trip to Italy that we'd been planning, and we've postponed that. We didn't cancel anything, but we also are not booking anything because there have been outbreaks in Milan, and that's not worth the risk.
After the CDC announcement in the US, the stocks overall took a 6 to 8% drop, but travel indexes saw more like a 13 to 14% drop. First stock I checked was American Airlines, and they were hit by about like 19, 20%. That's a really severe drop. And it's a reflection of professionals deciding that these companies are going to have less revenue. People seem to believe that people are going to travel less. And that's supported anecdotally by us postponing our trip to Milan. And we're hearing people getting onto airplanes, especially traveling to Asia, where the airplane is almost completely empty. I don't know objectively how much this is going to impact camera companies, but it's going to delay some purchases. And I believe this is another case of pent-up demand. I believe people will stop traveling out of fears over the coronavirus, perhaps justified, perhaps not. And then next year, 2021, they'll have that travel itch and they'll want to go someplace, and then they'll want to buy a camera.
Another big event is the Olympics. This is where all the camera manufacturers want their cameras to be seen on the sidelines. If the Olympics can't go on, that could possibly impact their sales.
Every couple of years, Canon and Nikon release their new big sports cameras, and then they want everybody to see them on the sidelines, and they use it for a lot of advertising and promotion. Like, it really glorifies photographers and photography.
Canon is proud to be the official 35mm camera of the 1984 Olympics. Like gold medalist Frank Shorter, it takes a special breed to compete at this level. Here, the Canon AE1 program performs. Shorter leaves the rest behind, but the AE1 program catches him, computing as it's shooting.
And this year, they're actually hosted in Japan, where most of these camera companies have their headquarters, like right in Tokyo. They sell a lot of lenses to the sports photographers, but also to the TV broadcasters, because companies like Canon and Fuji make these big broadcast lenses.
Now, something that's kind of giving us an idea of how the Olympics might be treated are other sporting events that were planned, and we're seeing that some of those have already been canceled or postponed. So there are certain sporting events like North Italy's soccer matches where the games will go on, but there are no spectators. There's the Chinese Grand Prix, which was set to be in April. There's the World Championship table tennis match in South Korea that was supposed to be in late March.
It is definitely an opportunity to transmit the disease, especially in something like the Olympics, where you have people coming from different parts of the world.
That sounds like a very scary scenario, to have people from every single country gathering in the same place where there's a high rate of the virus.
Especially because they're eating the same food, they're using the same bathrooms, they're perhaps coming in physical contact with each other. They'll do screening. They check people for temperatures, but the virus right now seems to be staying hidden, and there doesn't seem to be a good way to detect it. Some people never show symptoms. It's kind of impossible to do 100% accurate screenings, and that's part of why this particular virus is spreading as rapidly as it is. We're already seeing some delays in the build-up to the Olympics. A lot of training is being delayed. The qualifying events are being delayed, and Japan announced that they were postponing the training of more than 10,000 volunteers because they didn't want to gather all those people in one place and potentially spread the virus. They have some window where they can delay things now and then catch up later. Dick Pound from the International Olympic Committee said to the AP that they have a couple of months to decide. They really, until late May, they need to ask the question, is this under sufficient control that we can be confident about going to Tokyo or not? Dick Pound also said that they would not be moving or rescheduling the Olympics. He said that was very unlikely. It's much more likely that they will simply cancel it. So it's kind of an all or nothing. Like London said, hey, we'll host for you, but that probably won't happen.
There are a lot of moving parts, there are a lot of volunteers, a lot of preparation, a lot of construction. They can't say, hey, let's wait for the day of and see how it goes.
Personally, my hunch is that they're going to have to cancel the Olympics.
Yeah. I just find it so crushing because I know some athletes, they're training so hard for so long.
But I asked the question, like, how much of an impact does this have on the camera brands? I checked all of Canon's annual reports through 2011. I mapped their revenue and profit against the Olympic years, and I saw no particular bump. So I do think the value of branding is there, but I didn't see, oh, the 2016 Olympics are here and Canon had a huge spike in profit from selling cameras and lenses. That's kind of good news. That means if the Olympics are canceled, the camera manufacturers will not see a significant amount of loss.
All right, this was a heavy one.
Yeah, I would like to hear what people's thoughts are out there. People are in different parts of the world. We're all having different experiences. I'd like to hear what you think and how the potential of the coronavirus might impact your photography or the camera industry in general.
Again, thank you, Squarespace, for making this podcast possible. If you'd like your very own Squarespace, you can get a 14-day free trial, no credit card needed, and you don't have to remember to cancel. Just go to squarespace.com/Chelsea. If you decide you like it and you'd like to buy it, you can use the coupon code Chelsea to get 10% off. So thanks, Squarespace.
We recorded this video less than 24 hours ago, but things have already continued to unfold since then. Japan has announced that they are closing schools to limit the spreading. At least one major company in Japan is closing its offices and having 3,800 employees work from home. This is a trend that I expect to continue, and I bring it up because most camera companies have their headquarters in Japan. Most of them are doing the research and development in Japan. Working from home will certainly reduce the amount of productivity, and it could mean slower developments through 2020. I think we might start to see similar closures in the US, at least on a location by location basis. I know our president has scheduled a press conference for 6 p.m. today to talk more about how the US is going to address it, and I would predict that the US is going to dedicate more funding and do our best to help control it. Obviously, we'll be tracking the situation closely, especially how it relates to the photography community. Stay healthy. Bye.